Morning. I'm Matt Myers. I'm the head of customer acquisition over at Haven Life. We are a wholly owned subsidiary of MassMutual. I don't know why this thing is not advancing. Perfect. Hold on. Did I go too far?
It's complicated. But
well, way too far. Hold on. Sorry, guys. Head of customer acquisition at Haven Life, MassMutual subsidiary. I'm from Jersey. I talk very fast, so I apologize if I kind of go through this too fast for you guys. But basically, our parent company is MassMutual. They've been around for 168 years. They're a Fortune 100 company. 5 million customers. They're doing almost $40 billion in annual revenue, right? Almost $750 billion of life insurance coverage in place, and a network of 7,000 local financial advisors, right? But there's a big kind of shift going on in the industry right now. Life insurance ownership is at its lowest level since World War II. I think it's only 57% of adult Americans have life insurance. Agents are retiring at record numbers. We're losing 3 agents for every new agent we can recruit. And there's like a seismic shift towards DTC purchasing behaviors, right? So all that kind of creates this kind of headwind for the life insurance industry, at large. So enter Haven Life, right? So MassMutual about 10 years ago decided they need to start to get into this kind of direct-to-consumer play. It just so happened that our founder, our CEO, had a couple kids and said, I'm going to go online, I'm going to try and buy life insurance. Holy crap, there's no way to do this. You kind of go through the traditional, go online, get a quote, you end up on a phone with an agent. There was no agentless solution available, right? Which is a really, really poor experience for kind of the consumer right now. So he had his couple kids. He's lucky enough that one of his members of one of his cohort at Wharton was the head of customer experience at MassMutual and said, hey, we have this issue. Everybody's retiring. You have this issue where you're trying to build this experience. Why don't we buy you guys pre-launch and incorporate you kind of into our stack and build you into our tech platform? So 2015, we launched Haven Life, and here's a little kind of overview.
Life is complicated, but life insurance doesn't have to be. Welcome to Haven Life. We're changing the way you buy quality term life insurance so that it's actually simple. With us, you can get affordable coverage online from wherever, whenever you want. If approved, choose your coverage amount and term length. Just like that, peace of mind. Backed by MassMutual, a leading insurer. Easy, dependable, affordable. That's Haven Life. Get your real rate today.
So Haven Life, we sell simple to understand direct-to-consumer product. We founded in 2015. We launched in 2016. We have about 200 plus employees in our Manhattan office. We have $9 billion in coverage in force in the last 4 years. So that's pretty strong growth for us. And we're launching a couple new products this year. But nobody's ever done this before. 300 years of selling life insurance in the U.S., nobody's actually figured out a way to break out that middleman, break out that kind of agent that has to sit between the carrier and the broker. So, when we were planning to launch the product, we're like, who's going to buy life insurance direct to consumer? How, where are we going to find them? We had no idea. So we did what, our founder came from Nielsen, our CMO came from XM Radio, so we did what anyone would do. We did a big brand launch. So we started with a big media blitz, out-of-home, traditional kind of stuff. Very kind of edgy campaign, admitting you're going to die won't kill you, kind of stuff like this. It did not go over well. We got just tons of negative comments, and we're like, oh, crap, well, we got to kind of stop, rethink, reorient kind of our messaging, right? So we went from this focus on death messaging over to, this is your year, it's aspirational. We want you to feel like a hero for buying life insurance. We don't want you to think that you're confronting death, right? Because death is something nobody wants to talk about. So we made it more about, hey, protecting your loved ones, you have a family, but we still didn't know enough about our customer, right? So we did what we thought everyone would do, right? We did persona-based marketing, right? It's 2015, persona-based marketing is pretty cool. We said, hey, you know what, give me vegan moms in Vermont, give me, BMW drivers in Southern California. Whatever that was, didn't really know much about the customer. It was more of just a spray and pray kind of approach. Did all right. And then we did black box lookalikes, right? So now we're like, okay, cool. We have a couple customers coming in. We can use, stock lookalike models to try and, build off of our customer base, use the pixel to gather some information, kind of build a lookalike model. It was targeted, but it was still a little bit more targeted than persona, but it was still poorly calibrated to who actually needs to buy our product. So what we've moved to in the last year that's been just phenomenal for us is building modeled one-to-one audiences, right? So what we're doing here is we're taking our customer data, right, which is pretty interesting because lifetime value in life insurance is inverse of everywhere else, right? We don't want the highest basket size or the highest premium because those are actually the people that have the most risk, right? Life insurance is priced on your prediction that you could die during the term, right? So we're actually building lookalike models off of the people that pay the least premium every month, right? Because the understanding there is that our underwriting algorithms and our models have determined that you're going to live through your 30 years of your term and we're never going to have to pay out your claim. So we take those kind of premium, ultra-preferred customers, we append between 200 and 400 data variables to that customer record. Anything from who you voted to in the last election, to what type of car you drive, to how often you work out, fitness data, underwriting data, all these kind of data points to basically develop a model, right? And from that model, we can then stack rank kind of our customers and we kind of peel them off and activate those audiences. So from 2015 to 2017, we were able to lower our customer acquisition costs, moving persona to lookalikes by about 50%. Then when we put this one-to-one kind in place, we loaded another 57%, right? So you're talking, we drove down our customer acquisition costs, moving from persona-based to black box lookalikes to one-to-one kind of marketing. We lowered our conversion costs 78%, right? So for us, that makes us super profitable, makes MassMutual very, very happy. The other thing, too, is we created an internal score using your underwriting data, the questions on your application, some of that demographic data that we append to your record, to develop a propensity score, how likely you are to purchase with us, right? So we can know in real time when you click submit on our website whether you're going to, with a high degree of accuracy, the percentage chance you have of buying the policy with us. And that kind of has helped us gear and steer our marketing and has led to this kind of 44% improvement in that quality, that likelihood to purchase, because we can then take the positive outcomes of our model, feed it back into our audience to improve our targeting and just drive more and more people with a propensity to purchase. Here's a little bit on how our model works. I kind of talked through a little bit of this, but we define that customer segment, the people that aren't going to die, use their underwriting data. We can correlate things like, obviously the ones like your blood pressure, but also, activity data, even things like your driver's record, right? It gives us a good understanding of your mortality. We kind of define that segment. We append these data attributes. We select the attributes with the largest deviations, right? We stack rank that prospecting list. So one of the great things about being owned by MassMutual is we have access to their data science team, which license unlimited data from Acquistion and Epsilon. So we can basically, in real time, create these kind of models and run models and regressions and test out. And then we take that audience, we activate it through our DMP, and then we kind of run this champion challenger. We run a model for about a month. We take the positive outcomes we've had over that month, refine our models. Maybe we got a new data source we want to throw in there. Maybe we want to test different attributes that popped up. And we kind of run this champion and challenger across our platforms, which I believe are my next slide, our stack, right? So Acquistion, Epsilon, just talked about those. Those are our core sources of data. We use other data providers, but that's probably 90% of where we get our data from. Run those audiences through LiveRamp, and then we activate them across, Trade Desk for our kind of DSP, Amazon for OTT. If anyone wants to talk about Amazon OTT later, I'm around. It's amazing. Facebook, Simulmedia, and kind of Google. And then we do a lot on the analytics side, right? So we use segment.io to kind of push those conversions back into our model in real time. Indicative is a great behavioral analytics tool that we use. It matches our web data to our back-end server data, so we can actually see not just the sources and the traffic and where people are coming in, but ultimately at the individual user record, what's the positive outcome down to sale for each user, allows us to push that back into our, into our data and kind of refine our models. And then Attribution app, which is an MTA tool. A couple things we're really excited about coming down the line. I think location data, I know a lot of people have talked about that here. What we're really excited about is licensing location data to try and understand where our customers are, where their our customers are shopping, right? We get some of that from credit card swipe data, but understanding, the propensity of our customer to shop in Whole Foods versus Target versus Kroger, stuff like that. And then we can start to build lookalikes off of that. The other one that's really awesome, we just kind of launched a pilot with Simul Media on this one, is using IP addresses of our sales, matching them back to their to a connected TV panel, right? To figure out the exact programs that the people that ultimately purchase our product are watching, and then build a lookalike campaign off of that. So figure out what networks, what day parts, what programming people are watching, and then activate that kind of campaign and using our real-time sales data to do that and the IP addresses off of that. So that's a couple pilots we got going in Q4 on that. A couple best practices. We have, it's all about the seed audience, right? So understanding which of our segments we want to go after. Do we want to go after a diabetes population with a diabetes campaign? Do we want to go after, this high lifetime, or low premium, high lifetime value, low risk audience? And then choosing the right variables is huge, right? Because we're spitting out 700, 800 variables. A lot of them don't have a lot of differentiation from the general population. So it's, figuring out which are the right value. We might only choose 10 to 15 of those 800 variables as, the ones that we want to build our lookalike model off of. So getting those correct variables and testing into what those correct variables are super important for us. Religiously testing new data sources. So I said Axiom and Epsilon are our big ones, but always finding additional data that we can license that could open up new insights into our population and use that. And then the champion versus challenger mentality. So this is something we do kind of religiously as well. We run a model for a month. We then throw in a new model, and we see if that model outperforms in terms of, not just high-level metrics like click-through rate and engagement, but lower funnel, is that new model driving not just new sales, but new sales at a higher quality, right? Because for us, it's all about managing the balance of risk on our books with, the need for growth, right? So we look at it kind of across two axes of just pure sales growth, and then also risk on the balance sheet, basically. That's about it. I told you I speak really, really fast.
Yeah, you do. But there's a lot packed with a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
we have time. We have time for questions.
No?
Well, hang on. I always have loads. So first of all, let's talk about the media mix itself.
Yeah.
What formats were you using? I mean, I have a separate question about Amazon OTT, but
yeah.
But what are the media that are actually driving this? How much of this is display versus video?
Yeah.
Is this a video story
absolutely.
that needs to be told, or what?
So,
how does it work?
We are probably 60% in addressable TV, in CTV or OTT, 30% in display and online video, and about 10% in social and search. Kind of the way it is, right, for us is kind of the connected TV is our upper funnel. We use display kind of as our middle funnel, and then search and social is kind of our lower funnel for us. And
so describe that customer map a bit for me. How you see your customer moving through the funnel.
Yeah,
what you're hitting them with, and how
Yep.
you're using the technology to do it.
Yep. So it is, we activate this audience, say, with Amazon, right? We can then see who's been exposed to an ad. So we'll serve them up the first ad. The first touch will be a 30-second, brand spot, right? The next spot will be, it depends, right? Because you have two outcomes. One, they came to our site, right? Two, they didn't come to our site. So come to our site, they immediately go into, remarketing pool if they don't convert. On average, it takes you about 8 days to get a quote from the first time you visit our site to actually starting the application process with us. So we hit you up pretty hard on remarketing. Otherwise, and that's a very strong branded, come back and finish your message because we know you can, finish your application or finish your purchase. Otherwise, you go into more branded, you go into a bucket that's branded remarketing. If you just saw the impression, you took no action, right? So it's just more about Haven Life, more of that aspirational, this is your year type of creative, try to push you down the funnel and get you to that first site visit. And then after that, we do programmatic direct mail off of you once you come to our site, all sorts of kind of lower funnel tactics to get you through and get you to come back because we don't have any agents. We don't have a call center. We don't have any agent force. We're wholly self-guided, 100% online.
How does this relate back? Well, actually, let me stick with the digital piece. Since you raised the topic of Amazon OTT, I'm not sure that a lot of people here are that familiar with what's available in that channel.
Yep.
Could you tell us a little bit more about what that inventory looks like and what you're able to do with it?
Yeah, so the inventory is pretty interesting, right? So it's Fire TV, so it's IMDb app is their main source, right? So if you have a Fire TV or you use the IMDb app on Roku or any other platform, you can get access to that. They have a licensing agreement to serve ads within the native app, so AMC, FX, FXX, ESPN. They get a percentage of that inventory as well. And then they have their own and operated kind of lower funnel OTT networks like Pluto and some other ones that they run through. So inventory is pretty much equal to what you can find on anything else in OTT. But the one-to-one targeting, we haven't been able to find that much elsewhere. The ability to actually say, hey, I want to target Matt Myers no matter what he's watching. We've talked to Hulu about it, stuff like that. It just hasn't quite got there for us yet.
Are you tying this back to, we're going to be talking about Amazon inventory later this morning, but is this tied back into other aspects of Amazon display inventory online?
So I assume how we use Amazon display is just off of that pixel, off that, that impression, right? So if we serve that impression, we can then serve on display inventory after that, right? So it starts with impression one is always the video through the Fire platform, right? And then the second impression is across any Amazon inventory source.
Sure. Julie Pasha from Double Verify. So question, since you're targeting such niche audiences and connected TV devices are often shared within a family, how are you
So we find that 40% of our customers are spouses. Right, so it's okay, I think, right? In our world, right, it's usually the male that buys, and about 3 to 6 months later, the wife buys, right? That's just how it's worked out for us. So it's okay, I think, for us. We've also found through a lot of research that the woman, the wife in the household, is usually the spur to get the husband to get the product, right? So we're okay with kind of sharing that impression within a household because we feel there's benefit to hitting up both people in one household. And they tend to. One more point on that. Spouses tend to have similar mortality risk because they have similar lifestyles, right? So if you're a healthy husband, you typically have a healthy wife. If you're unhealthy, you have so on and so forth, right? So there's really no downside risk for us to hit both spouses in the household.
Sure.
Yeah. You brought up. Hi, my name is Vince Pham, Cause IQ. You brought up IP matching. So from my knowledge, usually most purchases are done at the workplace. So how are you guys working around that when you're tracking them to the household?
Yeah, so that's a good point. The targeting, starts off your household, but a lot of the providers that we work with have kind of cross-device, so they can tie my household devices, right, to my work devices, right? Right, exactly, right? So either my phone, because my phone's used in the workplace or the home, or my work computer, I connect to my work IP and my home IP, and once I'm kind of routed in that home IP, it kind of circulates out to all my other devices, and they can find me. I can find you pretty easily.
So I have to ask this because you started out with that failed creative that really harkened back to the opening episode of Mad Men.
Yeah.
When the German researcher is trying to pitch Don Draper that they should be selling Death Wish as their way to save their cigarette account. Didn't anybody get fired for that? Didn't anybody see that one coming?
No, not at all. I mean, I think...
Did no one watch Mad Men? Do they learn nothing from TV?
The idea behind it, so what's really interesting too is back then we gave everybody a book on their first day that said, this is how you're going to die, which was an extension of that campaign, and it was all sorts of like writings on death. But no, I think that the
Doubling
idea was,
down on death?
it's very morbid. Our conference rooms are named after weird ways you can die. Like, it's really weird. But I think we had to try to find a way to break through, right? So if you look at like the sea of life insurance imagery, it's lifestyle, stock photography, a husband, a wife, and a kid, right? So our thought was initially, how do you break free? How do you break through, right? So it's like, why don't we just go crazy with this kind of abrasive? You're going to die. Address that, right? Because that's the only thing that's going to happen, you know, guaranteed to you. So we tried that. It just did not have any public sentiment, positive public sentiment at all. So like, hey, you know what? We're a small brand still. Nobody really knows about us outside this campaign. We can pivot. So we kind of pivoted to this aspirational, like, you know, be a hero, be a superhero.
But spare the flowers and the stock shots.